Okay, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome. I know everybody is looking forward to the day. Let me take the opportunity to introduce the members of the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee Games Management Committee. That's the body charged with matters related to the Games, including selection matters. Dr. Terry Ali, the Chief of Medical Staff, Dr. Ian Hippolyte, who is also the chef for Rio 2016, and Diane Henderson. Missing is the chef, the Secretary General, Mrs. Annette Knott, who had to leave yesterday for Brazil. Let me say in front that when this press conference is finished, I am heading to the airport to catch a flight to Brazil. Let me make it abundantly clear, this was planned way in advance. The business of the Olympic Committee is ongoing. And this meeting related to the Pan American Sport Organization was established and set up way in advance. The past few weeks have been grueling and difficult, as this situation has taken on very emotional dimensions in the public glare. We at the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee acknowledge that the situation has shaken public confidence in the integrity of the decision-making process for Team TTO Rio 2016. This circumstance and situation is a dark cloud over the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic movement. Public confidence in the governance of sport has been shaken. This is not what the Olympic spirit and values are about. And we at the TTOC deplore the situation that the TTOC has found itself in. The way in which the lives of two young and talented athletes have been picked apart is not sportsmanship. As a governing body for sport that is highly transparent and regulated by the IOC, we, the TTOC, are bound to observe and uphold certain principles and rules which govern our selection of athletes, including a duty of fairness. They must be given a fair chance, a fair opportunity, and that there be fairness in all circumstances. Decisions taken in the selection process ought to foresee that they will have a significant impact on the lives and the rights of our athletes. There ought to be procedural safeguards to ensure the attainment of fairness. Discriminatory motivation can be subconscious. The TTOC, in accord with its commitment to good governance and athlete-centered focus, has worked closely with member affiliates to ensure the selection process is carried out with due regard for the duty to be fair. The TTOC contends that national sporting organizations are obliged to act fairly. The requirements of the duty to be fair are general principles that include the right to a fair hearing. When decision makers have an interest in the outcome of a decision, they ought not to partake in it. This year, at the Olympic Games, we anticipate having an unprecedented number of athletes representing Team Trinidad and Tobago. And this is an achievement for which we must be proud as a society. I now turn to the specifics of the decision. following a meeting of the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee Games Management Committee, a decision was taken in regard of the Team TTO delegation for Rio 2016. The decision was based primarily at the end of 2 days of intense, robust, heated discussions. The game changer came on Friday, the 29th of April. From my perspective as the president of the Olympic Committee, not as a member of the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee Games Management Committee, which has been empowered and delegated the authority to make decisions, I find that intervention curious. Nonetheless, the Games Management Committee, after due consideration of a number of submissions, legal advice from Senior Counsel Elton Prescott and the trustee and attorney Dave Williams, confirmed that the name change from Thema Williams to Marissa Dick was duly made by the Trinidad and Tobago Gymnastics Federation in accord with the declaration from the FIG. That declaration, which I will read in its entirety shortly, as I said earlier on, was the game changer. Additionally, the process of the Games Management Committee in selecting athletes for the Olympic Games was respectfully followed. This process entails confirmation of the eligibility of the athlete, confirmation of the qualification process of FIG. The TTOC Olympic Games Management Committee has therefore ruled that the TTOC has no choice but to include Marissa Dick in the Team TTO Rio 2016 declaration. I repeat, the decision was significantly influenced by FIG's letter of April 29, 2016, which speaks to the legality of the process of the selection of the named athlete. Notwithstanding this, the TTOC has considered issues surrounding the process and will be invoking its authority under Clause 13 of its Constitution to determine whether the TGGF has infringed the TTOC Constitution, the Olympic Charter, and the International Olympic Committee's Code of Ethics in respect of their duty to be fair. I now take the opportunity to read the intervention on Friday the 29th of April from the FIG. Considering the number of requests and questions received from various stakeholders and the media from Trinidad and Tobago concerning the registration of the women's artistic gymnastic athletes Thema Williams and Marissa Dick at the test event in Rio de Janeiro and FIG's qualification rules for the Olympic Games, FIG released the following statement. Number 1, the dispute between Thema Williams and the Trinidad and Tobago Gymnastic Federation is an internal affair of Trinidad and Tobago, its legal and sports authorities. I make bold to suggest that the FIG, for whatever reasons best known to themselves, took the opportunity to throw the TTOC under the bus. 2, we confirm that the initial registration of Thema Williams to participate at the qualifying event in Rio was duly made by the Trinidad and Tobago Gymnastics Federation. Respecting the FIG rules, the place was not nominated, and the Federation therefore had the free choice to select and register at their discretion. We confirm that the name change from Tima Williams to Marissa Dick was duly made by the Trinidad and Tobago Gymnastics Federation, respecting the FIG rules, including time limits, which allow such a change. The FIG further confirmed that Marissa Dick has successfully competed at the qualifying event in Rio and has obtained a nominative place. They have used the word to participate. I prefer to use the word to be included in the Trinidad and Tobago team delegation for the Rio Olympic Games. This place must be confirmed by the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee as soon as possible, but not later than May 9, 2016. Failure to do so will result in the automatic invitation of the next best ranked all-round athlete from the qualifying event in Rio. Since the qualification place earned by Marissa Dick is nominated, no name change or replacement is possible. That, ladies and gentlemen, is supposed to be the full statements to be made at this conference. Because of the serious and significant possibility of the TTOC being faced with legal action, now that we have made a decision, we have been advised by a senior competent of attorneys that anything we say at this point in time is sub judice, or may be sub judice. One of the features of the way I operate as president of the Olympic Committee is to be very open, frank, and upfront. I'm confident that you have questions. But mindful of what you have just said, I will reserve the right to not respond if it is that it will bring us too close to reaching the legal advice. So I now open the floor to questions and answers. What I would appreciate, I know you identify yourself on the media and ask. Go ahead.
Okay, Nigel, Joey, response. Has both athletes been told of the decision already?
Beg pardon?
Have both athletes been informed of the decision?
Because of the high public interest and the interest of the media, we took the opportunity to have the press conference, and we are now going to be writing to the FIG and the TTGA.
With the place, sorry, with the list for 102.1 FM, with the place being, the position being nominative as indicated, it means therefore that, God forbid, anything that happened to Marissa before the night.
Which is not something I want to go on record as contemplated.
Yes, before the night. Could we have that?
Well, according to the FIG, if that should happen, it will go to the
Azerbaijan.
Robert Dumas, CNC3. Mr. Lewis, it's come to light this morning documentation that the TTOC was informed about the injury, and subsequently actually a local doctor, Tima Williams, was sent to the local doctor showing that she was indeed not injured and able to participate. In light of this information, and there is documentation showing that the TTOC was aware of this, what is the status with regards to the TTGF, the TTOC, Anita Peltier, the Canadian coach, John Gerard, an internationally recognized coach, they've all turned out in disgust almost for the Trinidad and Tobago Gymnastics Federation. will there be a call on behalf of the TTOC to request resignation of this board?
First thing, could you rephrase the question? I don't want to respond to that question. I heard you said there seemed to be an implication. Something about the TTOC information.
Receiving.
Suggestion that there was information that the TTOC may not have considered. I just want to have absolute clarity.
Yeah, that's fair. The TTOC was aware that Tamar Williams was indeed not injured. So therefore, if she was not injured, the process in terms of the FIG, the request initially that brought this whole thing together was the petition for the tripartite commission. In terms of the TTOC was being requested to petition to the tripartite commission.
Okay.
Right? That hasn't been addressed.
Well, let me say this. The documentation that the TTOC would have received came between the 16th of April. The first correspondence, that official correspondence that the TTOC would have received, came from Donna Lucio. It indicated a copy of a communication from John Geddes and a press release. I am advised that that was circulated to the media. So it was indeed possibly sent to the TTOC as a courtesy, which we acknowledge. Thereafter, the TTOC would have received a number of legal documents, a number of communications, including a pre-action protocol from the TTGF. Let me state categorically, the TTOC has a duty and responsibility to be mindful of the legal liabilities that it can be exposed to. Let me also remind that this issue cannot be simply characterized. It crosses jurisdiction, it involves the FIG, it involves the IOC, it involves the TTGF, and let me say, the same duty of fairness that the TTOC is contending that the Trinidad and Tobago Gymnastics Federation has as a duty. It is the same duty of fairness procedurally that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee has to all the parties in this.
Mr. Lewis, in the context of this statement, is it that the Olympic Committee, the TTOC, would have considered the Trinidad and Tobago Gymnastics Federation not to have acted fairly in the context of...
So that is where we are sailing very close to the statement. Can I have the statement which has been vetted by the appropriate legal counsel? And I just omit me to stick to it because I've been advised that I need to stick to as close as possible to the script for legal reasons. The TTOC has considered ethical issues surrounding the process and will be invoking its authority under Clause 13 of its Constitution to determine, permit me to finish please, to determine whether the TTGF has infringed the TTOC's Constitution, the Olympic Charter, or the IOC Code of Ethics. Let me say, that clause would be why the TTOC has to be very careful in any comments it is making in accord with the same duty of fairness, the principles of natural justice. Your question?
Christopher Gill from WeSport. I would like to know, Clause 13, what is the process by which the TTOC is going to go through now if they invoke this Clause 13? What is the actual process? What you're going to do? Is there going to be a tribunal? Or how does the process take place in terms of the TTOC and it's now putting the TTGF up in front of this Clause 13 tribunal? I call it whatever. What's the actual process, the mechanical process? They're called, the officials are called, they're asked to testify, you all take statements, you all make a judgment, then you all, after the judgment is made, what is the decision, what is the possible penalties to the TTGF, all of those things.
We'll be advised by senior counsel and our attorneys on what is the appropriate process. You have to recognize and appreciate, as much as there is a need for information, this is a matter that will possibly expose the TTOC to all sorts of challenges.
So this process has never been invoked before?
The TTOC, as I recall, may not have had cause to invoke clause 13 before.
Mr. Lewis?
So this is unprecedented.
Wait a minute again, sorry. So the Olympic Committee, TTOC, did ask of the Gymnastics Federation Trinidad and Tobago its audited accounts relative to the participation in the test event. Are you in receipt of such? And
No, in terms of, if I get a question right, audited account?
yes, from
No.
in terms of the spending towards the participation in the test event.
We would not have found it necessary during the process of selection to ask for that.
Okay.
What we would have done was that they were given the opportunity to be heard, gave them our duty to be fair, and it did appear the Secretary of the TTGF and the President on Saturday the 30th of April at a meeting of the Games Management Committee where the attorney was present, and I also was present in my ex officio capacity, because of course, regardless, the buck seems to stop with the head. And I must say that they were very forthright and honest in answering the hard questions that were asked.
Hi, Abir Jackson, independent blogger. I know you have that official statement from the FIG, but I'm wondering if the FIG has volunteered an official timeline. I mean, they have said that timelines were followed, but did they give a point-by-point, bullet-by-bullet explanation of what that timeline was in reference to what is stipulated in the Constitution?
I think that we must be... The fact that the FIG, in their good judgment, made the choice to start item 1 with the fact that it is a local matter, represents a drawing of the line, and I would urge all of you, because you represent the public interest, and while the TTOC's decision may cause further concern, we have to appreciate that the drawing of that line would have caused the TTOC's legal advisors to take note. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to matters in respect of the Olympic Games, outside of the TTOC having the exclusive authority, the International Federation and the IOC. If the International Federation has signaled that everything was in accord with their rules and procedures, then you don't need to have to be a legal luminary to realize where that is going.
You mentioned that based on who sent the information to the FIG to make that ruling, because clearly in terms of the information that's come to hand, in terms of even locally, it's outside of a local matter, this process. And due process in this case with regards to head of delegation, coach, athlete, and the medical staff, it's on record as not being followed. So who supplied this information to the FIG?
The FIG, okay, hold on. I'm not going to get in an argument which will be better served in the courts. The FIG is the competent authority internationally to make declarations as it relates to their rules and procedure. The TTOC will be acting ultra vires if it sought to usurp the authority of the competent international body and replace a decision that they are the competent body to make. We all have to appreciate that the TTOC must accept the advice in a matter of this from legal counsel. If for some reason this goes to the Court of Arbitration for sport, the advice is that that communication from the FIG will place the TTOC in a particular position.
Nicely.
I just wanted to ask again, back to the clause 13, because now that you brought to light that you had members of the TTGF here in front of the committee, was the decision to bring the TTGF up on this clause 13 unprecedented made after their submissions to the committee, and that you all figured out after they made their submissions that there was enough there that you all were not satisfied or dissatisfied that you all decided to invoke the unprecedented clause 13?
It would be irresponsible of me to suggest any particular type of bias. Let's leave that for the particular deliberation.
Sorry, just to clarify, you're not seeing me. Yes, sorry, just to clarify, just want to make sure I have it clear, is that if any further legal action is taken on an international scale via the CAS, if certain rulings are made, is it that the TTOC's decision to go forward in the direction that you have gone forward with, it is no longer at your doorstep because the decision technically came, the ultimate decision and advice came from the FIG?
The ultimate decision rests with the TTOC.
So you all will still be held accountable then for the decision made if something were to go awry?
There are two athletes involved. Each athlete have a legitimate expectation to a duty of fairness.
Right.
In one instance, I don't want to make pronouncements on the international body's action, but in a very real sense, they have done like punches back. Right? They have washed their hands and said the issue with Thema Williams and the TTGF is a local issue. Where you see it concerns the matter of Rio 2016, everything was done in accord with our rules and procedures.
Mr. Lewis, we do this again. I can't recall in the history of the Olympic Committee that you, the body charged with ratification of athletes for international games, particularly Olympic Games, that you would have not approved any submission athlete submitted to you for Olympic Games or Pan Am Games or what have you. Has that ever happened?
We would have challenged NSOs on the basis of the selection criteria, but what would have happened before? It would have been resolved in the sense that they would have gone back. If it is that they have to review it on the basis of beep tests or whatever, the relationship with the TTOC and its NSOs on the basis of this has become very collaborative. We don't have these issues with entries, we don't have these issues with cycling, we don't have these issues with the sports that are accustomed going to the Olympic Games.
But the fact is, you have the authority to be able to say yea on the...
And that authority is enshrined in Rule 27 of the IOC Charter, yes.
And even what you have done in the context of accepting Marissa Dick as the nominee to represent...
Included.
Sorry,
included. Very important. Included.
The fact is...
The named athlete.
The name was...
Notice I'm saying the named athlete.
Yes. Was not submitted to you just yet by the Gymnastics Federation of Trinidad and Tobago, but you are acting on the FIG's
No, submission. You know what? The questions are coming fast and feel good. Somebody should tell me the question. And we would have received it. A communication came from the TTGF indicated
That this was the idea.
kind of more or less saying that they were what the FID said, the athlete, yes. So it wasn't that the TTOC would have acted on the basis of the FIG letter, but let me tell you, even if the TTGF had informed the TTOC, we could not act on that. We had to wait from the communication from the FIG, saying in terms of they had this event, that came on Friday the 22nd of April, giving the TTOC till the 9th of May. Let me also just say, the reason why we chose to act by the 2nd of May was that we wanted to bring closure to this. We didn't feel it should be going on. I know that I saw where some people said that we would have left it closed. So that's not how the TTOC would operate. So the game management committee, after this, that's in their ballpark, the chef, in terms of Rio 2016 and the team delegation.
I was just going to ask, going forward, because obviously the Games Management Committee doesn't seem pleased with the process that the TTGF took, or the process that they had in their selection and how the entire scenario, Thema and Marissa went. Are there new rules or stricter guidelines that you all are going to put forward to NSOs in the future for future games coming up so that incidents like this do not occur again?
I think that if the TTOC didn't learn from this, we will be responsible. I think that coming out of this, we would be looking at our selection process, and I rather suspect if I had anything to do with it, we would not be told at a particular point in time in the process that is not our jurisdiction. I think that once it concerns the Olympic Games,
You all are going to be more
it has to be the TTOC's jurisdiction, and given the fact that the FIG chose to fight their corner, the TTOC going forward will fight its corner.
Dennis Allen from Sky 995 FM. The question of the exposure of TTOC to possible litigation seems to be pointing towards the Marissa Dick exclusion from the team. However, there seems to be sufficient cause for action from Thema Williams and this ratification of the selection or inclusion of Marissa Dick on the team seems to suggest that she will have no other option but to also include the TTOC in any further litigation in the matter. So is it that you were stuck, the TTOC was stuck between a rock and a hard place in this?
No, the TTOC was between a rock and a hard place. The TTOC was between a rock and a very hard rock. As we said, it was one of the most grueling and difficult situations that the TTOC has ever found itself in. We could have made decisions on the basis of purely our emotion and anger, but that wasn't the responsible legal position to take. This is not a very happy day for the TTOC, the Olympic movement, and members of the Game Management Committee, because at this particular point in time, all focus and attention should be on preparing for the games. We have a situation where we may have 35 athletes, 6 sports, and while every sport has the right to appear, as the president of the Olympic Committee, I'm none too happy that one sport has diverted attention. We are fundraising. We have a number of athletes who require support, and I'm advised by the social media marketing team that there are people actually threatening to boycott the TTOC's fundraising efforts and to even approach our corporate partners. Let me say, so while the TTOC respects the rights and the freedoms of people to express their opinion, we appreciate the deep emotional aspect of this. The TTOC has a number of athletes who are preparing to bring glory to Trinidad and Tobago. And I wish to urge the public that you don't seek to punish all the athletes who are deserving of help on the basis of an action of a few and on the basis of an action that the TTOC, on the basis of legal advice, felt that it was the most responsible decision to make in the circumstances.
Can I just ask before you wrap up, just an absolute clarification? Because you mentioned about the FIG ruling, the decision to name the named athlete to go forward now with Marissa Dick was not based on the FIG report. However, is it that in order not to sort of, well, this is what we're asking because it was an FIG, you mentioned that the FIG sent it to the TTGF, the FIG sent it to the TTGF, and that was presented to yourself.
Repeat the question again, I want to be absolutely clear.
So what I'm asking is,
question.
because what I'm asking to you is the decision not to petition the Tripartite Commission, was that based on
the Tripartite Commission? Okay, go ahead.
Is it based on the fact that you don't want to upset relations between yourself and an international body?
Absolutely not. It is based on a rule that says for a National Olympic Committee to qualify under the tripartite option, you must have had 8 and less qualifiers over the last 2 editions of the Olympic Games. Rest assured, the Trinidad and Tobago will not meet that. Last Olympic Games we had 31 athletes qualified. The one before that we had more than 8. Trinidad and Tobago, based on the written documented terms and conditions of the tripartite, we will not qualify for that. So that wasn't an option on the basis of the tripartite commission rules and procedures.
As you head out to Brazil, sir, could you give us a little heads up on the agenda, some items on the agenda summarily for the PASO meeting? And also, could you give us an update on your plans to have a games, a pre-games
camp by 2024? In terms of pre-games, I now happily turn over the floor to the chef de mission.
With respect to the question asked about the pre-games camp, I think we discussed that on Wednesday. For those of you who were here, we are in the process of organizing for a pre-games camp in Brazil. We made a trip to Brazil